the lead by a score of 10-3 on the forfeit. And we'll be back in a moment with more Lehigh, Oklahoma State wrestling. We welcome you back to the Stabler Arena now at 142. Joe Herman for Lehigh and Mark Toarmina, 18-7 for Oklahoma State. Shel Siegel and Larry Sheridan bringing you all the action. Marvin Walenzik up in Providence, Rhode Island, unable to be with us this weekend. Hopefully we'll be back against Edinburgh.
Toarmina, a junior, Graybill, Indiana, wrestled, came to OSU from Grand Rapids Junior College. I note that Oklahoma U, Oklahoma State, Iowa, and Iowa State, a lot of these big powers get so-called junior college transfers, and I don't think Lehigh's ever engaged in that practice, and they've got kids to transfer from other colleges, but they've never got junior college wrestlers to come to Lehigh. Seems to be the latest rage as a takedown goes to the Oklahoma State grappler, Mark Toarmina.
This is a weight class that Oklahoma State has shifted between Toarmina and Lawrence Jackson. Lawrence Jackson, 23-3. Another freshman has wrestled this weight class. We'll look at the takedown now by Toarmina.
He just dives in and picks up that leg from afar and continues pursuit. Anchors it, lifts.
Okay, top man on.
And then that's it, right there. There's the control, and they're inside the white area.
Toarmina defeated Rob Malloy of Penn State Friday night, 13-4. Joe Herman, 3-4-2.
Circle on. One neutral. Move it in, Red. Move it in.
Herman puts a lot of horsepower in Joe Herman. Manages to give everything for the first 6 minutes, and then the last minute we pray. And he just makes it to the 7th minute. College wrestling, of course, being 7 minutes in length. First period is 3, and then you have 3-2-2.
Center.
High school, you have 2-2-2. There's the Lehigh wrestling
got 108.
Team. Coaching staff.
Lines.
Minus Tom Hutchinson.
I think, Larry, that's probably the biggest single thing that I think turned Ivan Boyson into a much better wrestler now than he was at the beginning. Probably nobody was better than he was in the first 4 or 5 minutes, and then he had a lot of trouble running out of gas. Ivan's been able to pace himself a lot better last season and this season, and his record shows it.
Still up neutral.
Chad Watkins, who also weighed in today on the left, won't wrestle.
Lawrence Jackson was that was listed for this weight class, Shell, is a terrific wrestler. He was a 122-0 in high school out of Santa Monica. He wrestled Malibu, and
I mean, you take a kid out that's 23-3 and you pop one in that's 18-7.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just the depth that these schools have. You wonder how Lehigh could ever really be competitive against schools like that. It's amazing.
Well, it's extremely difficult. It's not only because Lehigh's a private school and they're all state schools where the tuitions are significantly different, and all the other things are not equal either. But
well, I think it's significant too, Larry, that you take a look at Lehigh's wrestling schedule. The last 4 matches that Lehigh has wrestled, Lehigh has won 3 out of 4. Back against the class, you know, that really is comparable as far as recruiting and so on are concerned.
Okay, State, you're on top.
Do you want to talk about that upset that occurred up at Ithaca last week, or do you want to just, you know, let's talk about it?
Yeah, we were talking about. That's where Marvin is down at the Brown-Yale wrestling match. After defeating Princeton 34-0, Brown lost to Cornell. I think it was 22-12 or something. But Marvin did tell me the following Monday morning that they lost 4 of the 10 by 1 point, which is not all that bad.
Your man wasn't set properly.
Considering Cornell has a roster of 78
I'll do a verbal adjust. Both men tell one.
I think that's the most amazing thing. Remember looking at that roster, Larry, with 78 kids on the wrestling roster?
No caution.
Well, we'll see what happens in the East.
Verbal adjust. Okay, you wait for him to get on.
Understand that
okay?
hopefully Jim Frick will be back for the Easterns. Now, Masood's going to talk to Thad Turner. Let's listen.
Why'd I change? Bottom man moved because the top man wasn't on appropriate. Both men stay right out there. Stay right there. Top man was not set. He had one part on, but not correctly. So as soon as he felt it, then bottom man started to move. Both men, so I'm giving a verbal adjust, Dad, instead of...
Okay, but holy jump, geez, I can't see why you change it. You know, you have the option of doing either one, but you made the call, now you're changing.
Well, but that's okay. It's fair. It's fair for both. It's going to be fair for both kids.
I'm going to check it, and I hope you change it the same way.
If I do, we'll try. We'll see.
Ed Massoud's got to be one of the most accommodating officials I've ever seen. He's a gem of a guy.
The referee has the right to change a call. And Thad said, okay, that's your right. But
change it for me.
He implied that he was pressured from Joe C. And he says, well, next time you make one, I'll question you. Maybe you'll change it for me.
Four-1 lead.
Ed out of Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Toarmina.
4-2 the score.
Move it in, move it in.
Minute and 12 seconds riding time in favor of the Oklahoma wrestler. I must say, I don't think Stabler Arena was ready for a wrestling meet tonight, Shell. When you look up at the scoreboard on our left, it's the entire basketball lineup for Hofstra and Lehigh. So times are changing, but I really don't hope so. There's a spin around and an easy two-pointer. Joe Herman not looking as sharp tonight as we've seen him in the past.
6-2 lead. We'll look at that final maneuver, Larry.
Okay, we get the injury clock coming up on the Oklahoma wrestler. I think he's right here. He could have pulled off a real pancake, but it didn't happen. So we're like to point out tonight that there's a crowd of about 2,000. We have Al Singmaster has out of Devon has brought in a group of the Philadelphia Alumni Club up here to root the university on.
Okay, we're neutral standing.
Welcome Al Singmaster and that group up here from Philadelphia Alumni Club.
Lehigh down.
Ready to go again with 1:07 to go in the second period. Lehigh 10, Oklahoma State 3, but the score is deceptive. The #1 wrestler in the country at 134, John Smith, did not wrestle for Oklahoma State. Lehigh picked up a forfeit at that weight class and put 6 points on the board.
Get an escape.
6-3. All of Herman's points by escape.
Want to explain, if we got a moment, why, if there's not so much action, where I can explain to the folks out there about the so-called 21 date rule.
Which is the reason why Smith is not wrestling.
Yep. The NCAA put in a rule that says you are allowed to wrestle 21 dates. Now somebody said, is that like 21 times?
Restart, neutral standing.
Yes, it is if you wrestle once each date. But if you wrestle twice each particular date, you could wrestle 42 times. You could wrestle 3 times in one day. You could wrestle 63 times. But the point is, if you wrestle once in any day, it's counted as a date.
It's 21 calendar days and is not correlated to the number of matches.
Joe Herman tries a flip and didn't have enough moxie, and the wrestler from Oklahoma drops on top and picks up a 5-point lead, now 8-3. But that's it. And what happened when John Smith competed in the East-West, so-called East-West meet, now known as the All-Star, that was a date. In other words, they don't even exempt an appearance in the All-Star meet, which is dumb.
Here's the roll that didn't quite come off by Joe Herman. Let's look.
All right, he takes from here, and now watch him dive underneath and take a leg elevator with that left leg, and he says, oh.
Okay, fellas, 8-3.
Couldn't do it.
State, period 3. Okay, take the position.
But that,
top man on.
There's Joe C., 4th-year coach, formerly at Cal Bakers.
Nope, now top man. That's a caution.
I'll see if Turner's going to get up. Nope,
set.
he makes an attempt, but he doesn't get up. But the 21-date rule can, I felt that an appearance in the All-Star meet should be an exception. Because what it's going to do...
Because you don't have to wrestle in that meet.
That's right. It's a voluntary appearance on behalf of the sport. It was held this year at Northern Iowa College. There was a poor attendance. There's only about 1,200 people there. And the NCAA says, oh, that's a date. So now John Smith is sitting there saying, hey, I got to wrestle against 4 more colleges, and holy mackerel, I'll exceed my 21 dates, and therefore I'll be ineligible for the NCAA. Well, he doesn't want to do that. So he got caught in what seemingly is a good idea. And I think it's a good idea because, remember, Oregon used to come in here with 40, 50 wrestling bouts under their wing. I think they should put a limit on how many times, but I think they ought to exempt the
Lehigh down,
East-West
State up.
or the All-Star.
Here's the reversal, Larry. Look for a moment like in control was Herman, but Toarmina is going to grab that right leg. You see him grabbing it. He's going to pull it toward himself.
Man set.
And down goes Joe.
One.
Joe not looking as sharp as we've seen him earlier this year.
10-4.
Gets to here, and he doesn't have the moxie we used to see so much of him. He's good throws from that position. Ducking under and
Go in the center. Move right in. Move in.
we're in 142-pound class. There was that forfeit at 134. Lehigh currently leads 10-3 over Oklahoma State.
Herman really could use a takedown here and maybe save Lehigh a point.
He's in tight, but if he steps over, if the Oklahoma wrestler steps over, and he goes right on his back, towards his back, anyway.
And that'll do it for a major decision now. If Toarmina hangs on, he'll recapture back the 4 points that were earned by John Epperly back at 126 by returning the favor on the major decision. Time running out. And Herman does not look like he's going to get out of this. And it'll end 13-4. Major decision victory for Mark Toarmina, moving to 19-7. Joe Herman now 3-5-2. And Lehigh's lead now is cut to 10-7.
Shake hands. Match, fellas.
So Lane Pendleton will come out at 50, I'm sure.
13-4, 4 points.
Against Wes